Hey, good night. This is Doc Martin, MD, signing in. So, I want to call this video Think Big. Think Big. But this video is going to be a, a bit unconventional because I'm going to use examples that may not actually sound like the best examples to give, but I want to show you things that are give you ideas that are practical. And one thing about how I like to think and explain things is to take a little bit from everything and to show how a lot of ideas, even though they don't look the same, are very interchangeable. Um, so think big. How many times have you guys ever, if you ever study wealthy people, you'll hear them say things like it takes the same amount of effort to make $1 million as it does to make $50,000 a year. It takes the same amount of effort to make $50,000 a year as it does to make $1 million a year. So what happens is a lot of times we only see the 50,000. Our minds only go to the possibility of what we've seen. Yet and still, we know that there's wealthy people all around the country, all around the world that are making billions of dollars a year. But we're only around the $50,000 range. That's the only salary that we actually look at. Or 50,000, or we think, or well, $200,000 a year. That's a great salary. It's a great salary, um, but it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. Um, Now, if you're a person, if you say, "Hey, I'm comfortable," whatever, that's fine. But that's not thinking big. All right. If you watch my podcast with um, Josh Ortiz, the Financial G, we do the Health and Wealth podcast. There was a clip on that podcast where it showed me saying that a lot of people um, don't want to be wealthy, and they say money is the root of all evil. Yet they'll let their grandmother or mother be 75 years old bagging groceries at the supermarket or working at Popeyes and say, well, money is the root of all evil. Yet had you thought big enough and made enough money, you wouldn't have to have your mom or grandmother or grandfather working at the store. And they should be retired. They should be in Dubai somewhere. Like I'm a big advocate of trying to show my parents things that they would have not seen otherwise had I not did what I did. And um, having that idea that money is the root of all evil, the love of money is the root of all evil, which it can be, but that's another story. But money is the root of all evil. That puts you in a box to where it's like, okay, well, I want as less evil as possible. So $100,000 a year is just right. 500,000, not so much. A million, oh God no, God no. $1 million, hell no. Can't do that. Cause see, I don't want to be corrupted. I don't want to be a sinner. I don't want to be a person that just is greedy. And we shut our minds off to moving above a certain level, and we don't think big enough until we need money. See, nobody um, it's almost like the police, right? A lot of times we might complain about the police or they're this, they're that until you actually need one. And that's a real conversation, right? Not all cops are good, not all cops are bad. That's not this conversation, but it's just the idea that like if somebody breaks into my house, who am I going to call? I'm going to call the police. So it's realizing that a lot of what's holding you back is your own messed up thoughts, unorganized thoughts about certain things that you know that you need. Yet I want just this much of it for now, but when I'm in debt and I have to pay my taxes, I need this much of it. As soon as I get it, it's like, no, no, let me go back here because I don't need that much. And that's silly. That's silly. And I'm going to tell you because I used to think like this too. I have friends, I have family, I have a lot of people. Most of us are trained to think like this because, uh, like, I'll give you an example. Um, I'm from New Orleans, and this was, I forgot, was it 20? Don't quote me on the year. But anyway, with the BP oil spill. And so down in New Orleans, there was a lot of people lost their jobs, or the restaurant industry was affected because one of our biggest sources of income in New Orleans, in Louisiana, in the Gulf Coast is seafood. Well, the BP oil spill kind of messed that up. And so BP was doing the BP settlement, and they were giving people all this money. And the same people that were saying, um, yeah, money's the root of all evil, I don't need that much money, I'm good. As soon as they found out they can get tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars due to this BP settlement, people started putting in these applications lying, or even if they weren't lying, they were one of the first people to jump on this bandwagon because they knew they could get some money. And to that, I just said, man, cut out all the bullshit. Cut the bullshit out. Like it's stupid. And I don't say that as an insult, but I just say that as a pattern interruption. Speaking to my former self as well, it's like, you need money. Okay? You need money. My last video I made, I said, be good or be bad. Either be hot or be cold. Don't be lukewarm. If you're lukewarm, there's no potential in being lukewarm. If you're hot, you can burn down the whole city. If you're cold, you can freeze over Lake Michigan. You can do a whole lot more when you're on the end of the spectrum than if you're just in the middle wavering. You have no direction. We know what hot is. We know what cold is. Lukewarm, we don't really know what that is. Right? You should either be rich or you should be poor and own it. You should be aiming towards one of the other. If you're just in the middle, you're fooling yourself. That's even worse because even the poor person, I try to give money to homeless people a lot of times, or food. And interestingly enough, a lot of times we think that people that are homeless always want food. A lot of times they will turn down food and turn down money if it's too much. I've seen this happen, right? They already know what they want, who they are. They're not trying to be wealthy. They've made a decision to be this. Not all, but a lot. A lot of people that live on the street have decided this is what it is. And if you try to give them food when they're not hungry, they're not going to take it a lot of times. If you try to give them food other than a cigarette, and not all homeless people drink or smoke cigarettes, but if you try to give them this other than this, they're very specific. Very specific. And a lot of times, they lack gratitude. And I'll make another video about that. But when it comes down to people, a lot of people that they've made that decision to be homeless is like, or be in poverty is like, this is what it is. I like this lifestyle. I don't have to work. I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to do anything. I can just wake up and be how I am, and I can just get whatever I need as the day goes by. Whereas people that work, we're always constantly stressed out. What's the next best thing? Like how am I gonna make the next dollar, or how do I work so hard to where I don't have to worry? How do I save for 6 months in advance? Towards like, okay, I'm covered for 6 months. My living expenses are covered for 6 months. I've saved up enough money, so I'm good. Unless something crazy happens, that's what the middle class is. So I talked about poverty, and I talked about the middle class, and then you have the wealthy, the other extreme of poverty. The wealthy think, how do I make it to where not only do I never have to work again, but my kids and grandkids never have to work again? How can I make so much money to where it's never an issue? I can spend money and never have to think about it. I can never work again and still make money in my sleep. So the difference is that you have two opposite ends of the spectrum. The rich people who know exactly what it is, they know exactly what they want. You have poor people, I say homeless people, people in real poverty who have decided this is what it is. Like, I'm good. I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to go to work. God is going to provide my food every day. I'm good with, like, I can ask somebody, you know, and honestly, um, impoverished people can be the best salesman, because if you think about it, if they ask 100 people a day for $1, or 1,000 people a day for $1, they can actually probably make $100 or $40 to $50 or $60 a day. They can do that, especially walking around picking up money. They already decided, hey, I'm good where I live at. I'm good going to a shelter, and I'm still eating every day. But I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to provide. I can just be free. And when you think about it, like, not to judge any, but in ways it can make sense. A lot of us, we don't feel free. So I mean, from that point, you don't have to answer to anybody or do anything. I can see that. Okay, fine. So that's the poverty. That's the impoverished part. And then you also have the wealthy spectrum, where um, people are like, I always want to have money. I don't ever want to have to worry about it. I don't want to have to stress myself out. I want to build vehicles that create wealth in my sleep, that allow me more money to create more vehicles, to where my family, my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids don't ever have to work again, and I can get so good at showing, um, at creating these systems for myself. I can show my children and my children's children how to create these systems, these wealth systems. Um, so my family legacy can always be that of wealth and generational wealth. That's the opposite end of the spectrum. And then you have the middle, right? And the middle is, I'm good, um, I'm good, I don't need that much. I'm happy. I do okay. I do okay. And then as soon as there's an economic collapse, you stop spending money. And soon as you find out you can get a lawsuit, first thing you do is jump on it. All you're doing is fooling yourself if you're like this. If ever you have a lawsuit, or somebody says you have a lawsuit, and you're the first one to try to get that lawsuit, or there's a settlement, you're the first one to try to sign up for it, you are fooling yourself, because you need to realize that you need money. You like money. That's okay. The church that tells you that money is the root of all evil, it's the same church that's asking for tithes and offerings. All right? If money was so evil, they would not be passing collection plates around the church. Why? Because money keeps the lights on. Money keeps the rent paid. Money, everybody needs money. Right? Everybody needs it. So think big. Right? If you're making $50,000 a year, ask yourself, what can I do to make $200,000 a year? If you're already making $200,000 a year, you may be comfortable, but kids might need private school, right? Your parents might be getting older. You might need to take care of your parents. It's hard to take care of you, your family, and then your parents, and then even grandkids making $200,000 a year. And for everybody that says, no, I can find a way to do that, no. Because you're going to realize after you start making a certain amount of money per year, you're going to look at how, like, am I living this type of lifestyle? Am I living a $200,000 a year lifestyle? But then you realize, well, shit, I'm really not, because I'm paying for tuition, my kids, I'm paying for the rent, I'm paying for this house. I don't get to travel. I don't get to drive a car. Like, I'm also taking care of my parents, making sure they have what they have, and I make $200,000 a year, but I barely see it. There's nothing wrong with asking God for more. You can be making $1,000,000 a year, and God is okay with that. Let's go a step further. God is okay with you making $1,000,000 a year. He does not care. He does not care. Only you do. And the people around you that don't want to see you make more than them. I'm going to say that gym again because it was a gym. God does not care about you making $10 million a year. He's not trying to stop you. God does not care about you making $10 million a year. The only people that care about you making $10 million a year are the people around you that don't want you to make it, because it makes them feel bad. It makes them feel like they're not reaching for that level of potential. They're not using that full potential that they have. And then you got to ask yourself, well, if these people don't want me to reach my full potential, maybe I need to get around some more people that want me to reach my full potential. Like, you got to realize that negativity is insidious. Jealousy is insidious. Even that little bitty thought to where I don't want to offend my friend if I have a little bit more money. I don't want to offend my friends or my family if I make this next accomplishment. And that it comes down to, it's not anybody around you that's stopping you. It's these micro thoughts of offending other people around you that repels the things that you really want. Because once you want that thing a little bit less than you did, because you felt like, well, this person, I don't want to offend anybody, or I'm kind of ashamed to have this or to say this, you start repelling everything away from you. And if we can talk about law of attraction all day, yes, it's the opposite of the law of attraction. When you want it, you get it. When you want it a little bit less, you start to repel it away from you. And it's not about God not wanting you to have these things. It's really about you not wanting you to have these things. When you want something and you think big and you made up your mind that I want this, you start attracting that stuff towards you. But eventually what happens with all of us, including myself, you get to a point where you start thinking about, how are other people going to look at me? How are other people going to, like, am I going to be able to go outside? Am I going to be able to drive this car over here? Am I going to be able to invite people to this house and not have them feel a certain way? Am I going to be able to travel somewhere and bring people with me without them thinking, well, damn, man, like, how are you able to get all this? Are people going to want to hang out with me as much because, I have this? Are people want to hang around me as much and treat me the same? Am I going to still receive the same love from people that I did at this level when I was at this level? And easy answer to your question is a lot of times no. And you kind of have to balance being able to go on a lonely journey, yet not pushing the people away that still want to be in your life, and rewarding those same people that still stay in your life. But the people that decide that they don't like your progress, fuck them. I'm sorry, fuck them. Like, that's what it is. Because in this one life that you get on this earth to reach your maximum potential, you cannot let anybody get in the way of that. If you're hanging on to people around you that want to stay at the same level and they want to keep you there, You have to have an abundance mindset. Remember, think big, right? Think abundantly. Think abundance of money. Think abundance of health. Think abundance of family. Think abundance of friends. If you have a friend or two or a group of friends that are threatened by your potential and they don't want you to go further than they do, when you're not even thinking about where they're going, you're thinking about where you're going. If you have people like that, realize there are other people that are trying to get to the same level you're trying to get to, and that's the frequency you're moving at now. And eventually, what's going to happen is that I say God, but I also believe that this universe is created by God in a certain system to where He doesn't have to be there all the time to do everything. But that's another video, right? Eventually, you're going to be expelled away from where you are to where you're supposed to be. Eventually, if you are trying to grow and you get on a certain frequency, eventually your environment is going to push you away to somewhere else where you need to be. And I've had some tragic events happen to myself because I waited too long to leave when I was supposed to go a long time ago. I was at another frequency and should have been in another place, but I was still hanging around people, not bad people, but we were just on a different frequency. And it was almost like God was telling me, give me all these signals, it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. And I stayed. And whispers turned into screams. And then eventually some bad stuff happened and I had to go somewhere else. But the funny thing is when I look back, I should have did that a long time ago. So a lot of what I talk about in my videos, you guys probably can relate to them, but nobody ever told you these things. And a lot of the things I've learned have come from becoming more aware of energy, aware of pitfalls, aware of different things, aware of mistakes, so I don't have to keep repeating these mistakes. And I make these videos so you don't have to keep repeating these mistakes. But realize that you have to understand and become more exposed to all the different things that you can have on this planet. If you ever been in Miami, hopefully you go one day. Now, people can talk about Manhattan. People can talk about New York. New York is great. I've seen some nice things in New York, you know. But I honestly think the hidden wealth of the hidden wealth in residential areas in this country best seen in Miami. Miami just has, you have mansions that you can drive by and see, but there's areas in Miami where you can't get into unless you're delivering pizza like I was in med school or you live there, where you go into you on a dark road, and like you see on the highway, you see these trees, you see all these trees. You make a left turn, you go into what looks like a rainforest. And yeah, like I said, you go into what looks like a rainforest. You go in, greet the security guard. He lets you in. You drive forward. You drive across a small bridge, and you look to your right, and you see this waterway with like 2 or 3 yachts in people's backyards and mansions. And you go to Star Island, and you just see yachts and mansions, $44 million mansions. What's the difference between a person that lives in a $44 million mansion in Miami with a yacht in their backyard and you who makes $60,000 a year with a lawnmower in your backyard? What's the difference? One of y'all thought big and one of y'all didn't. And I harp on this because at the end of it all, you don't want to be one of the people that said, damn, man, I could have had this, or I could have had that. You don't want to live with regret. Why not do it now? And even if you're older, it's like, man, go for it. Like, if you're 70, 80 years old and you still have life breathing in you, what are you doing here? except doing more, trying to do more than what you did yesterday. I don't believe in relaxing. I don't believe in. I do believe in relaxing, but I don't believe in taking it easy unless I have all the things that I want. And I go through these spells of not wanting anything. I'm pretty simple, but then I realize is that life is not as fun. Life is not as interesting unless you want something. Life is not as interesting unless you have something you're looking forward to. There's always more. There's always more. So when you think small, you pretty much said this is it. 30 years old and decided, hey, this is it. I'm good where I'm at. Have my kids, have this, go drink on the weekends, have my holidays. This is it. And this is not to bash anybody or call anybody boring, but when you have a midlife crisis, usually it comes from shit like this. It comes from not thinking big. It comes from letting people sell you their own dream and make you think it's yours, right? Your employer has you working on their dream instead of your own. And then eventually you get to 45, 50, like, man, I'm not happy. It's not what I thought it was. I want to retire. I talked with a friend last night. He said something about not wanting to work. And I explained, I said, it's not that we don't want to work. It's that we don't want to work for other people. Your midlife crisis usually come due to realizing that you dropped the ball and you didn't do the things that you wanted to do for yourself because you didn't think bigger. And so now, this is why I make these videos. This is why I talk about biohacking, mind hacking, vision hacking. Uh, like I said, I work in a hospital. I'm a doctor, right? But my true passion is helping people to be healthier, to think healthier, to improve their lives, increasing wellness. That's my passion. I love what I do, but my passion, what gets me up in the morning, is showing people how to be better instead of putting out fires all the time. Because usually if I have to put out a fire, it's too late. If you got a cardiac arrest, I can save your life, but it's like, how could I have stopped you from having that cardiac arrest in the first place or that heart attack in the first place? I didn't. So I'm basically getting the brunt of everything. And I'm probably not working the ER, so I'm probably not going to see you again unless you do the same thing and come back to the ER. And then I put out that fire again. And I usually don't have enough time to talk to you. And so this is why I do these videos. This is why I'm going to be talking more about health and more about weight loss and more about just life and mindset and just everything that I do in the field of biohacking. This is why I do it. I would do this literally for free. I'm doing it for free. I'm giving out this information for free. And I hope that if you're a person that's watching this video, that you realize like you're playing too fucking small. You're playing too small. Don't ever play small. Don't ever play small. Life is like a catalog. Life is like a catalog. You have all these different things you can choose from. And you're choosing them every day. And the thing is, most times, somebody already made the choice for you and made you think that you chose it. All I'm saying is choose something else. If you have a Toyota, but you want a Ferrari, don't be afraid to say, I want a Ferrari. I know I was given a Toyota, but I want a Ferrari. Okay, yeah, I don't need it. Okay, yeah, I don't need it. Yeah, it's people that starving. Why would I need $100,000 car? Yeah, but we're not talking about that. People want what they want, and people want what they want at different degrees. It's people that have 5 different types of Ferraris that making millions of dollars a year that do more for poor people and more for people that are starving than you do, making $50,000 a year because you think so small. And that statement is really for your friends around you that's making you feel bad for wanting that Ferrari. If you want a Ferrari, say you want a Ferrari. Pick that. Pick what you want. If you want to own real estate around the world, but your friends are saying, hey, you can only, it's best just to keep Keep 2 buildings. If you want to own real estate around the world, do that. Pick out the catalog what you want. But it takes balls to do that. It takes courage to say, fuck what y'all are talking about. Excuse my French. Fuck what y'all are talking about. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to get. And y'all got so much more time to be in my ear talking nonsense about what I can and can't have or what I should and should not want. Like, keep that shit somewhere else. It takes a lot of courage to say that, and it takes a lot of courage to cut ties off with the people that are trying to hold you back because they don't have enough gas in their own engine. Even if you may be trying to put gas in their engine, they're still trying to take gas out yours. This video went way over, but I got a little passionate about what I was, the message I'm trying to convey, because I see this shit all the time and I've dealt with this. And I know so many people that are good people that have big dreams or had big dreams and they never really went for it. So think big, think huge, think so big that it's offensive. Think so big to where people get offended, people don't understand. If you're doing it like that, if you can tell somebody your dreams and they look at you different, you're doing it right. If you tell somebody your dreams and everybody's patting you on the back and saying, "Oh man, that's great, that's that's awesome," and you don't have anybody that feels a certain type of way, you're thinking way too small. Anyway, this is Doc Martin, MD, signing out.